So I woke up one morning in May of 2015, and I had this unsettling uneasiness feeling in my stomach, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't feel sick, but I also didn't feel right. And as the day went on, I was like, what's going on? Like, did I eat something bad? And then it progressed a couple more days. I was like, it's just sitting right here, and I feel like there's just a stirring going on. This probably was one of the larger stirrings that I had experienced of God prompting in my life. It was enough that it just caused me to pause all throughout the day. What is that? God, what are you trying to say? Until one night in May, I had a dream. Now, on a side note, you need to know that I don't dream. Like, I never dream. Now, scientists will say I do dream, but I just can't remember them. I really don't think that I dream. But I did have a dream this night. And I dreamt that my husband and I were working in Washington, D.C. Now, here's the thing. At the time, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia and Washington, D.C. are not neighbors. But I woke up and it was so vivid. It was so real. Almost like in the movies where you have to like pinch yourself and like, is this real? I ran to the window because I couldn't remember where I was. And I was like, okay, wow, this is Georgia. This is Georgia. This is not D.C. What was that dream about? So I have this unsettling feeling in my stomach. I have this dream that was just out of the blue. And I thought, maybe God's trying to tell me something. What is in Washington, D.C.? Now, I had remembered as a kid that we would always come here on family vacations, and we would visit this place called Ebenezer's, and then we would visit National Community Church. And I thought, okay, what's in D.C.? National Community Church. Now, if I were to back up a couple of months, and if I were to put pieces together, I would have realized that this unsettling feeling started probably in March of 2015 when I knew that my residency, that's why I was there in Georgia in the first place, was coming to an end. It was only a 2-year program. It was coming to an end. And so in my head, in the back of my mind, I was thinking through, okay, are we going to stay here in Georgia or are we going to move somewhere else? Now the pieces were starting to come together. But anyways, I was thinking, I know what's in DC, National Community Church. I wonder if it's linked to a job. And so I started looking online, and I just Google searched National Community Church jobs, and I found one position available. And it was the small group director for the Barracks Row campus. And I thought, I'm in small groups. This is perfect. Like, how crazy that this might be coming through as a dream. Now, side note, somehow I had to try to tell all of this to my husband. So I had a dream that we were in D.C., and I think it's because of this job. Do you want to up and move right now? And, I learned we were in our first year of marriage, and it was a little bit difficult. Like, okay, if God's speaking to me, God's surely going to speak to him too at the same time, right? And so how does this work? And so I began to have conversations, and I realized that this unsettling, maybe I ate bad pizza, was also stirring in him at the same time. And so we began to have these conversations about, well, what would this look like, and how should we move steps forward in the process? And so he said, you know what, I'll go first. I'll apply. If you really think it's DC, I'll apply to transfer because my company is also in DC. And he did. And I said, okay, if you're doing that, then I'm applying. And so I applied right away, and we both applied to move to DC. Now, this process is a little bit of a longer process that we didn't expect, although not on his end. He got the job within a matter of weeks, literally, and we were like, wow, this is an open door. And I'm going through the process of having these conversations and interviewing, and they seem to be going really well. Until I get to the point where I get this phone call, and we're probably in about July at this time. And it was National Community Church, and they said, Kirsten, we're actually going to put a pause on the interviewing process because, well, we have a lot of changes going on our end, and we didn't expect it, and we're just not quite ready to put all of our energy into bringing on someone new if someone else is transferring to another location. And I thought, God, what are you doing? I had a clear dream. Like, I thought this would be easy. And it began this process of this season of learning that, you know what? Sometimes God asks us to obey when we don't have a single blueprint or direction. Sometimes God asks us to obey when we have those thoughts in our head, was that just me or was that God? And we might have to move on it anyway. Sometimes God asks us to obey with clear directions and clear instructions, and it's green light all the way. Sometimes God asks us to obey when we actually don't have clear instructions at all. I have this sign at my house that just says this: do not ask to go somewhere if you aren't willing to move your feet. And I learned that I had to position my feet in the process to what I think God was calling me to do. I had to position my feet in the right direction to step out in faith before I even knew any direction. And to be honest, this is the hardest thing for me. My friends joke that I am not just a type A, I'm a type double A. I love organization. I love details. You could plan out the rest of my life and I would be good with it. I love that. I also think that's actually one of my greatest weaknesses. Because God may have been telling us to go to DC, pulling back some of the details and saying, are you going to step out in faith, or are you just going to wait for all of the answers before you move until you know it's safe, and then you'll move? We see this actually in the Old Testament. In Exodus 33, verses 19 through 20, it says this: and the Lord said, I will cause all of my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. But you cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. And what he was saying is, hey, don't miss the glimpse, because I'm about to pass by. Don't be caught up in the details, because I'm about to pass by. And then we get to Exodus 40, verses 36 through 38, and it says, in all the travels of the Israelites, whenever the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle, they would set out. But if the cloud did not lift, they did not set out until the day it lifted. So the cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and fire was in the cloud by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel during all their travels. And he says, hey, when I go, you go, and when I stay, you stay. And so I learned this life lesson that if you want to figure out all the details on your own, if you want to be able to control all the aspects of your life, you might miss out on the move of God. And so through praying and really discerning what is the Lord asking of us, my husband accepted the job. My interview process was put on hold. And I said, you know what? I think that I'm still supposed to go. I think my feet are supposed to be in DC. And so we're going to move on this together. And if I end up walking dogs to make money in DC, I heard you can live off of and do really well by walking dogs in DC. And so we moved. And this would have been in August. So fast forward to August. We're unpacking everything. Matt's about to start his new job. And the phone rings. Now, we've only been in DC for 2 days. And the phone rings. And they said, hey, Kirsten, it's National Community Church. I just want to let you know we sorted everything out and no more interview process. You've got the job. I almost dropped the phone because I realized my feet just had to be in the right place. My feet just had to be in the right direction. The Lord just wanted to see if I would move anyway without the full blueprint. And I got the job. And there's a lesson that I'm still learning, and that is this: don't let your personality be able to box you in, and at the same time box God out. And so maybe here today you're not wrestling with a move, or you're not wrestling with, well, God's asking me to step out in this way, but But maybe you are wrestling with just a prayer prompt. Is this God or is this me? Is this supposed to be a step of faith or am I just supposed to stay? And I don't know, but I do know that it might be a little bit of a journey, but the Lord will make himself clear because he always does. And so when I say, what step of faith do you need to make today? I'm not saying, well, where do you need to go? Where do you need to uproot yourself? You need to discern what the Lord may be asking you for yourself in community with wise counsel. But what I am asking you is, are your feet planted in the right place? And are you willing to obey and take that step of faith, even if you don't have a full